Hi guys, welcome back. Time now is 21 o'clock 43 and will be now this moment for the study live stream. And today's date is I already mentioned and um not wondering, and recently we got new um mode and to earning energy, and not just like consuming, and cannot just like the reverse feedback of the cycled back energy, and this kind of energy gonna enforce you instead of just like consuming. And at least from my perspective and my point of view, my end. So what we're doing now is like slowly into the study mode, and we got a lot of things to do, and so that we choose like the lower voice, and that is more comfortable and that will not cost much energy. And today is a special day, and 2 days left, the animals gonna have the celebrate at the university, and I got a lot of courses today to visit, and so I have a lot of thing to recap, and today after it, and the fate has got the form conference, and it is kind of like some requests for the urgent issues in the etc. But one thing is not very obvious is that they how to say that, like the Vimito's song has argued about to change everything new, and like not big, but I mean like they are usually don't have anything, and they should change everything and from root, and then they could take over the power and the monetary and things and etc. That kind of really embarrassed, and the reason is that they always directly tell the person who embarrassed them, and to say your term gonna be end and what you're gonna do next, like have a holiday and those kind of thing, like a non-educated and this kind of thinking pattern coming from the rural area, like the Berlin area, this current city, city of this current moment, that this moment like glory and like non-educated, and they have no other ways in to express themselves, like to formulate it high, and to forgive others, and try to use some good characteristics instead of only blame and wants to take things for granted, for example. And so from my point of view, this kind of thing, but recently we figure out and how to deal with this kind of this for this group of people that they usually want to give, but the reason is that they cannot give forever for anyone and for each other. And so they have some I at least advocate some new strategy and towards those who only take and never give back. And so but let's just start with the study live stream. And we open light, and tomorrow we got the Marco class, and I really don't want to go because I feel like I gonna get hurt. And but from my soul point of view, and that's so high and it doesn't care about that. And but the important thing is I missed the class, and I can have the danger of not pass the exam and not get a good certificate, not get a good grades, and not graduate soon. And so from now on, that we should only using the positive attitude into anything. And so in this sense, let's just really take less from university and to save more time and to get soon graduated, instead of to entangled too much from my current university because we got the same characters and in the name and blues that I haven't have the R they have, and that's why. And so yeah, let's lightening this darkness. Yeah. Okay, that's two that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I will take my shoe out. Yeah. Okay, so here is not that comfort that made me not going back, and but the reason is that my point to my current university thing is much more urgent, like important than ever, and so we're gonna first deal with that, and so now is much more comfortable and more clear about my current living situation. And today I met the Shu Professor Simarek and the at like the Red Bakarai, and we yeah. So I asked you and went to the Bakarai, and I don't feel sorrow, and I don't really congratulate them because I don't think that they deserve. So in a sense that so this is much more better and than utilizing. Yeah, and so let's go to today's study stream, and sooner or later I'm gonna talk less to align with the Lucas Stella, Professor Stella, and was asking me to buy the good quality paper and start to write the PowerPoints instead of before exam that is so hurry up, because the time was so separate, like the examination preparation time period and the learning time period, and the time period is not the same, and so yeah. I feel like I heard a little bit about what they're saying, like that stick together words when you split them and when you decompose them. I found that the all words from my classmates was all like organizing them their positions and to make me feel like low, embarrassed, and feel like not belonging to them, not belonging to any group, and like fashion and laugh and show their family's money, like they're rich and they are good family backgrounded, and like the better family and background, and high class some of, and a warm family atmosphere and etc. Those kind of thing, and saying that really very not proud, like negative side of proud, yeah, but whatsoever, and so let's get into the study state. Yeah. So yeah, same reaction function, and SP also that docent in a postdoctoral in, and they are yeah, okay, cool. So let's begin today's study stream. Miss you guys and my YouTube fans, and yeah, okay. So they have plugged out the apple of ladder and to show their distance, but it's me a guide by that. And, so they want you to pick up and but not to catch up. And the reason is that yeah, who of them wants you to be point instead of opposite. So and otherwise, there are nothing new. And the fourth day of this week and the fifth day of this week, we got two Felice module and each one day. And I feel like tomorrow, and I don't want to go really. And the reason is, yeah, the reason is, yeah, 我的天呐，我又 feel like heavy lifting. Well, the reason is that 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 the Professor Lin really wants to deal me and etc. So I better avoid. I also won't get that much thing from them from my point of view, and they have, even we are in the same class, they could perceive more than me, and because my office management was with the X symbol, and so that also if the university always have the same professors and they for example like the female professor in tended to give more knowledge to the good outlook young classmate and instead of me, and so that's why I feel like that tailed but let's think about this problem out and in another perspective. So yeah, and recently as you guys know my study live stream for a long time, that I will share with you guys what I'm thinking, and if you watch my study live stream, please just keep every second active think, and also because because sometimes I'm gonna speak my dream state and to tell you guys what in my subconsciousness, and so I was find that is very important. And recently that was very scary because when Tina is coming from the my last living dog living apartment room big, and then one of my neighbor is Chinese as well, have the same nationality as me, and she enter into a dusted, blood dusted room, and that was in a very old Chinese series film. I was so shocked and woke up, and she turns right side and into the room that could be my middle school experimental school in my primary school, and she came and the whole holy shit, the whole Go Asian supermarket was completely empty, And then I remind me think of one actress that this actress is how's Sun Li and another one, but I couldn't remember that clearly. But when they came and they means the 322, and so sometimes they will very much let your study endangered, and so I was very fear about that. And then afterwards, yeah, that was that in China with the black shank of the Kleidung shank and etc. And I was I was very shocked because I tell you guys the reason, and it is it is I don't notice, and I repeated that she repeated that Tina for 2.5 times at least, and then I was think that they still as your days. And then I went to that room and I want to call that Alex Makeup was my Russian neighbor. And I want to say, hey, 你这个小狗狗在干什么呀? Hey, you this small dog, what are you doing? And then suddenly wake up, and then I feel like devastating, and because the Tina is also combined with multiple person and subconsciously like their environment, living environment, and one is Liang Wei, and that is kind of a small star in the entertainment job market, and I was thinking, and so what they're doing, and you turn right, and but the problem is that this person and this neighbor in my previous living place, that she has replaced me, and so I haven't had a place actually, and then who should I gonna be? And I was in a dream state, the fat and like fat and eat that much and as previous hour, and then I was just suddenly wake up, and I thought that there should be more things be placed instead of the empty room. And then the second day, and we got a statue and Akatsuki, and Professor Camille was really nice, and he thought he could solve this this situation, and because that was very scary. But but today, today today in a Wuban, but in Wuban, and I was being placed by other characteristics, and who knows who's who. And so in this sense that we really conflict each other, and yeah. So, but he is still my professor I followed for many years. We don't have conflict at all, but recent 1 year some, and starting the university got employed a lot of females, and that's why the whole situation becoming very conflictive, like first is to delete all the bachelor professors from you which followed for a long time last year for from Mensa, and this year is that delete everything from your campus management and your everything, and they own you, so to say, but they never give you a cent, right? So it's all my family's money, and that's why. And I feel like, yeah, you always sign. Yeah. Okay, cool. And so what we do now is to review the notes, and I want to listen to again today's lecture, and because I feel like it's important, it's important. And but I only got the phone, so we can repeat today's lecture. And if the classmates wants to, yeah, I'm so willing to share, and I you want to sell them, and that's why. So um yeah, so let's go. The atmosphere is quite embarrassing, and the reason is that I don't listen to that 127, and the Alex is no more lovely, and no more serious. And yeah, don't say sorry has destroyed our good professors and student relationship, but if sign is not the only option for you, and what else? Okay, cool. Today I really wrote a lot of notes, and I'll show you guys. I really don't know why I have wrote a lot of notes on. And for example, this is about the theory of war and peace, and some other one like big bubble tea store, the promise that haven't fulfilled yet, and gonna in the notes because everyone has different understanding and the imagination of the same cause event. And so from my point of view, and what I can write is those following is those following things, and like the bubble, small bubble, and extended bubble, and the silver pool, and etc. Okay, so and this is the Marco exercise today, and this is also a lot that I already reviewed in the Mensa, so to say. And so they today got the write the script, and I think that is from very harsh and urgent fashion, because usually in those kind of circumstance, from heard by your professor, and that they shouldn't have enough time to prepare it. That's why somehow the harsh and urgent so was embedded in their script of speech. And so I feel like, wow, great, and somehow embarrassed, but also I know a lot of trick, like how you to embed your thoughts into this kind of speech script. The most is that very unfavorable and unpleasant moment in our daily life. If, for example, like thinking, imagine, and if they are speaking something about our non-important reality, and what that gonna be, and how boring is that, who cares about that? So usually it's draining from our extreme hatred moment, and etc. So that somehow that works, right? So but they have the repeated and recutted word and sentences somehow, and that's why it's not very perfect from my point of view, from JC professor's point of view. Yeah. So this is Start und Allokation yesterday, and at least more thing to train to see my performance previously, and now it's no more there. Yeah. Okay. OK，我这个好像多空了一张了，so 然后这个是 Development Economics，然后今天早上的，然后其实可以说很多，但是我们就先不这样说了，然后我们就先不 rewrite notes，我们就直接写 PowerPoint 上面的 notes，因为这样的话，我觉得可能更有意义一些，而且稍微预习一下，你也看到那个马口的那个课，258也跳过了。然后我以后就不是，这个，我以后就不是这个项目的学生了。然后，希望你们也不要报答我。然后我可以开我自己的车。然后我如果bachelor，还有就是我以后也不能把教授当做家人了。然后我们现在已经分道扬镳了。然后因为学校里面，招了2个新的女教授，然后他们都是我他们的 prototype，但是那个 Peter 毛教授把我在课堂上面打得很厉害，然后我的阴道很痛很痛很痛，然后但是他不停的打阴道，然后震动耳朵，所以我要和这个项目的同学说 goodbye 了，因为他们的 slogan 强一点，但是呢，我反而离这个项目更近了，我反而离258这个 graduation certificate 的 more near. I far away from them, but I feel like more near of the master graduation certificate, and I feel like it's nonsense to align with them, but because they really hurt you, like if they for yeah, so I just want to say goodbye to the Skyward program classmates and to drive my own and to get rid of them and don't let them hurt my interests and value. So sad. 让他 automatic set 吗？让他 automatic leave this program and let us drive her blue dark conscious. 不会吧？10点了。 Okay, so我们还是拿这个蓝色的笔写吧，然后这最好，然后在这边的时候，然后保持就是尽量不要更换太频繁，这样。哈哈哈哈哈哈！行，然后呃，对，如果有什么情况的话，千万不要给我留什么言。然后呢，我们最近，然后这个 program，然后它有了3个new speakers，然后我一看他们的名字，我就知道什么意思的，反正都是 deep hatred，然后 deep hurt 和 deep 那种，反正就是 deep against，然后就是那种深刻的，对立面。然后呢，因为是 to SM 或者是这个呢，反正就不是那种 balance 过的那种感觉。然后，对，所以我们现在尽量抓紧时间，因为现在的时间很着急。汤姆猫好酷的天，嗯， So我得说一下这个问题，就是我 recently， 然后在学校里面的时候呢，然后同学在那个课上的时候呢，并不是对那个莉亚有意见，但是莉亚人比较好一点，很好听。就是莉亚人比较好一点，然后他不会就是责怪太多，然后所以那一天的时候呢，也就是俗话说的可能就比较好欺负吧，然后就我们的那个计量经济学的助教，然后她是一个女生，然后就长得还好，长得 normal 吧，一般，然后那个同学，然后因为他的这种，他想要达到的一种结果，然后就是怎么说呢，就是他想要达到一种结果，然后就是他想用反面的 energy 来 trigger 他们的这种感受，然后从让他们从主观的能动性上面，然后进行提高，并且自己开始学习，然后注重这个事情。所以他一直都是那种 double zero 的那种 strategy， 然后结果这一次，对，这一次这次他也是这样的，然后呢，对，就这个意思，行，然后就是。行，我们就不多说话了，然后还是保持自己在学校里面的一个状况，然后尽快进入学习的这个阶段，然后珍惜现在的时间，因为我们还有很多的东西要搬，所以能学的时间，然后要非常的在意才可以。然后如果能搬的话，我当然希望我自己。自己搬，然后会比较干净一点，然后也不用考虑那么多，就是也不用被他们现在目前的恩造公司翁组死飞嘛，然后 process 也要我的名字嘛，然后他们 process 我的时候呢，我的整个环境变得非常的安静，然后呢，因为他们一般来说都不太就是就不就对，就没文化，然后但是呢，他们就很安静，然后但他很安静，但很安静，他最后造成的那种冲击力可能会比较大一点。从角度而言，我觉得就是一般来说就是能说就说，然后我是这样想的，但是毕竟我还是 too simple。So to say，然后所以天呐，今天我上了好几节课，但是我这边只有一个视频。我现在上了 development economics，然后第一节，然后 macro 还是上了一半左右，然后下午的时候呢，然后要上那个 theory of warfare and warfare and peace 的时候呢，然后他那个课教授然后没电了，然后大概只录了一点点，然后呢，然后就好像是没有录上还是什么情况，然后呢又可能是被删掉了，我也不知道，我先看一下。加了1秒，行，然后后来我用那个，后来我用那个，对，后来我用那个录音软件，然后录的，然后对，行，那我们就开始吧，开始推流。 们先从那个 Central Limit Theory 那边开始学，然后到时候有不懂的话再问一下教授，然后或者是问一下助教，然后争取，然后直接把自己不会的全都给问清楚，然后也不要觉得不好意思或者是丢脸啊什么的，也不要觉得不好意思，因为考试的时候如果造成真正的 consequences，那才叫难以挽回呢。然后现在问的话，我觉得还来得及。所以我们那天在这个 sampling，这个地方，
So, example, which has the same distribution of the errors, I re-estimate it, and I get some estimate for gamma then, okay, right? And I can calculate the t statistic for it, and then I just check, well, is for this bootstrap sample B, and B goes from 1 to 10,000 or something, right? Is this t-value where I know the true value is 0, right? if I take average that, so if I just count that 10,000 repetitions, right? Samples. And then I count how often that happens, maybe 100 times or whatever, 1,000 times, right? And then I divide by 10,000 to have a fraction. How often does it happen? This phi theta is even larger than the one I estimated until now, right? Although I know my hypothesis is wrong. Okay? This is why it gives me a p-value, because p-value of the test statistic, remember alpha, right, is the marginal probability that I reject the null, although it's true. Right? This is the p-value. And I know it's true, right? I know that the null hypothesis, gamma 0 is true because I simulate my data under that hypothesis. I count how often I would still reject, right? The t-value is still larger than that. And this gives me the p-value. This gives me the fraction, how often do I reject, although it's true. All right? This is how the study works. Okay. I have a p-value of a test statistic, of a hypothesis, without making assumptions about reproducibility and whatever. And this slide just tells you you can go a step further. The idea is exactly the same with the bootstrapping. You see, the only generalization, which, however, very relevant here, is called Willebrand alternate bootstrapping. You can do this even if you don't know the distribution. Here we saw, let's draw the huge stars from that distribution, and then we generate hypothetical y, we estimate our model, and now look, we can resample it, right, just from the empirical distribution. Now we do not know hypothetical distributions, we know formulas, right? We just take the distribution as this from the data, the empirical distribution, right? We have 100 equations, we have 100 stars, right? Estimated our less expression, and then this is the distribution. And then we draw from that empirical distribution. Okay? And this normal amount, I don't know. And this gives me again my PR, and then I go just the way it is. Okay? So that's the difference between permitting and non-permitting bootstrap. That I don't make assumptions about the use here. I just get the impute distribution, and it still works. It's great. Okay. So this is why whenever here's that's how it works. So this is why this is of course mathematical statistic that doesn't really work, right? But this is why, and it works well. Use the example as the way to try to show how well it works and so on. This is why bootstrapping is more and more applied work, right? Because of course, we estimate our model and then we make then we want to talk about hypothesis tests and confidence bands, all these things, And yeah, and one major critique is of course always this test does not apply for whatever reason. Because it's not exogenous, because it's not normal, because we have enough observations, we might be topics. This is a major critique, right? If you do a regression, draw my results, and then comes someone around the corner and says, I don't trust your standard errors, right? Because look here, not enough, blah, 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 then, right? And you do advisor, journal, then no, I think that is large enough. Okay, solution. Okay, this is why it's more and more in the empirical work, because computers are so fast. Like the old days was a problem, 5,000 distributions, blah blah blah. Running that random number generators, also improves a lot. You can do it on your smartphone, right? So that's not the issue now. talk about the assumption, and now instead what we talk about what happens will become related to the organization and facility. Actually talk about thank you. I upload the slide for part 2 because part 1 over. Minus T1 minus alpha half. And then this gives me betas where I cannot reject the null hypothesis that my unknown coefficient was actually beta level of alpha percent. That shows you the relation, the one-to-one relation between two sides of tests and complement. Okay? So when you have a confidence band and your value of the null hypothesis is inside that band, then you can't reject the null hypothesis that the true value is this variable. Whenever the value of the null hypothesis will be outside that confidence band, you can reject it. Okay, so let me show you this. Or remind you that when we just apply it to some arbitrary linear regression, here, look here. Is that large enough for you? Yeah, or no? No. So this is just the standard regression output of increment views, right? And I know you work with R, but if you don't have R and you have a summary thing, you can generate very similar looking like standard table of regression output. This is just the standard regression output. Look at data analysis. Okay, whatever. So look here. Okay. So here, actually the variable is salary, right? Log salary. What I did here just for illustration, right? I regress. I have a sample of people with wages and I know the education level of that cross-section fit here. And I regress the log of the salary on the starting salary of that person when started the firm, right? That's the current salary and this is the starting salary. And then I have the education level, so bachelor, master, and so on. And here I have the square that's standard is regressions, right? Where you try to obtain people that well it helps, but you don't have an opportunity to return. Right? Mean which increases a lot, but not forever, but last years, not so much. Okay. So look here. Here we are in the estimated coefficient, these squares, we know what happens. Here are the standard errors of those, and the standard error, the estimated standard error of the regressions. So this is what we have here. Square root of the variance. Right? In the example of a single coefficient here, the square root of the variance is just a number. Standard error of the estimate. Okay? The t-statistic we know is just, as you see here, t-statistic is estimated value divided by standard error. Okay? So you can get this value here by just dividing 2.8 by 0.2. The p-value of the standard statistic program, which is related to that here, gives you the probability that you observe 2.8, estimate 2.8, even though the true value is 0. Right? Even though p-value of this hypothesis is 0. So you can easily reject another hypothesis that the constant in that regression is 0, and in every that you want. 1% is 5%.
啊天呐，我忘了这码事儿了。然后就是我现在3、4到5，然后是21秒，然后就不多说了。然后因为那个因为今天我跟大家分享一下我们上课的时候嘛，然后结果有一个同学，然后在那个宏观经济分析课堂上面，然后上去写了一串的那个公式，然后那个公式说是这个意思，就是说，其实也不是特别难，然后就是简单的一些，但是他们就是意思就是他们的基础很好，然后呢，后来他们对我的评价就是我是村猪，就是全村最笨的那一个。然后我不知道为什么他们的 perception 是，反正很难形容，就是你不知道为什么会产生那样的一个想法。然后他们说就是你的脸就是豆腐皮。然后你的脸是方的，然后你是 square face，然后你是hold off the stupidest pig。哦，天哪，我的天哪，我的尾部又折了一下，我的朋友是又折了一下，行，我们就不开玩笑了。我不知道为什么大家对我会有这种 perception， 然后然后还有一个兔子，然后也是还有一个胖兔。
projection I just showed you is bullshit. Does not explain anything about error. And it's just random, whatever. Okay. Right, mean and relative this is here. These are three information criteria that we talk at the end of the lecture when we talk about how to specify the model. Because so far we have the assumption we know the model y and x each other as well. This is something in practice nobody tells you. Nobody tells you. Which request you should right? No. Yeah. In econometrics, you often we mainly just assume we know. Right? What we find in practice, we have to talk about how to decide whether we should do yes or not. Right? Testing is one idea, of course. Right? Many of the cases are the best one. Therefore, maybe statistical programs offer these so-called information criteria. There are one test we know from econometrics 101 test for a very simple, very old school, very poor test actually about the organization. Okay, just as a reminder, these are things you should know. How is this related to our confidence band? What I just said. Look, standard error. We know that there are observations, zone sheets, statistics, all institutions that matter. Yeah. T-students 400 okay. We know for the 95% level, we have this the critical value of a normal distribution is 1.96. This is why in practice say 2 standard errors. Right? Because this is close to 1.96. Right? So, 2 standard errors. Suppose you would be interested in the hypothesis that that's a constant, right? That constant is, so we rejected the now that it's 0. And why did we do that? Because 2 times standard error is 0.845 something, right? And if I add and subtract 0.85 to the estimated coefficient, like here, right? Then it obviously does not include 0, right? Because then it goes from, I don't know, 1 point something to 3 point something, right? So this is a range of coefficients where I'm not sure where I cannot reject the hypothesis. So obviously I cannot reject the hypothesis that the coefficient is 2.0, right? Because 2.0, when you look at standard error, it's actually obviously 2 sigma band. Yeah. Yeah. It's a feedback. Yeah, okay. So you look at the table and you might ask me, what about this? Can that be 2 or not? Everybody in 2 should tell me, yeah, of course it could be 2. I want to get the standard error. Yeah. And then I ask you, well, could it be 1 or not at the 5% level? Then everybody would say, yeah, of course not. Because 1 is outside the true sigma band. And this is exactly what we just discussed. Okay? So here is the relation between testing, right? Can that be 1 or not? And get the confidence band and see, oh, look, 1 is not the confidence band. Therefore, if I would do a 2-sided test, whether it can be 1 at 5% level, then I would. Yeah. So that's one thing. Right? And here is the other thing, right? That beta has the estimator here inside. So the problem is this is much more easier to interpret somehow. Yeah, because we don't know what that is. So how can we say? So we don't know where that is, right? Okay. So one final remark about about interpreting confidence bands. When I ask people, so beginners, right? So how would you interpret a confidence band? Then people say something like, or students say sometimes something like, well, the confidence band here tells me with 5% say within that. Now, when we send out it, and say, well, probability that the true parameter in that band is 95%. Why is that? It's not exactly correct. Yeah. You're on the right track. The confidence band is random. Very good observation. But what is not random? The true parameter, right? I just made a probability sentence, hypothesis, proposition about a non-random variable. I said the probability that the true parameter is in the confidence band is 95%. That makes no sense because it's a true parameter. It's not a random variable. My estimator is a S. That's a random variable. Then I can talk about probability. But the true parameter is either or the only way to save this. So okay, so this is so if you put it like this, then like so that's making sense because it's random. Say probability of the true value of the true parameter that is that. But how to make that? What would be a good idea to explain someone who is not a math guy, not a statistician? like education example, right? I want to test the null hypothesis that both coefficients, one of education and one of education square are zero. So education has no impact. Yeah. This is the that would be the perfect example for the case. When you talk about confidence bands or tests are having single permanent tests. And this is a very nice thing here. So what is that? What is that theory illustrate? We have here the two values for the two parameters, and here is the estimate. Right? So you estimated beta hat A and beta hat B. Okay, that's what we estimate. This is my coefficient for application, and that's for investigation. Okay. And now, in the first step, I'm naive, and I'm just looking at the confidence band individually for each estimator. Right? And these are this one. That one here is for A. This is the confidence band of 95%, or something like that. This is the confidence region for beta A. Right? So 95% probability that that is true value of A of beta A. And here's the corresponding confidence band for okay. So meaning that in that case, for example, here, this is outside the band, so I can reject the hypothesis that beta A is zero, and I can reject that beta B is zero. The individual t-tests would, for both parameters, tell me reject the number. So they're outside the confidence band. Okay? If I would be here, for example, I could reject that beta A is that beta B is the true parameter, but I cannot. Yeah. So these are the single tests. And now, but now have the condition that come on, no, I'm not interested in whether education is significant and whether education square is significant. I cannot just repeat the t-tests because I'm aware of the multiple testing problem we already discussed, right? So best thing I can do is to have the F-test. So test the significance of having zero coefficient for education where simultaneously and this the F-test. And then you get not independent confidence band, then you see that the correlation of the regressors kick in. If you calculate now the confidence bands in a multivariate case, then the covariance between the two estimators comes to play. Right? So again, of course, if you account for it, you have to account if you estimate if you're interested in both parallel estimates, then you have to account for correlation. Right? Because suppose for whatever reason they would be super highly correlated. Right? Then whenever you reject the one, you only reject the other one. Okay, then of course, it looks very, these confidence bands look very different compared to the case that they're both coefficients are not uncorrect. Now you will see that immediately if you would re-estimate this, leaving just education square out, then the coefficient of education would change. Right? Remember the variable bias, if I throw something out which is uncorrelated to something, then the coefficients are unchanged. But if there's a correlation, then they change. And that's what happens. Because education square should be highly positively correlated. Okay, and here see how that correlation of the transfers to the correlation of estimates and in the correlation and in how the confidence bands in the here looks like. So if you have in 2 dimensions, and if you're interested in joint significant spaces in 2 dimensions, they are areas in plane. I'm going to have 2 coefficients here, and then I have in general something like this. And look now what can happen if I have multiple regressions and I'm interested in multiple hypotheses. The hypothesis that contain more than one sign. Like for example here, just think about the testing joint significance of 2 variables. You see 2 things. Here we already talked about. So here, what's happening here is you reject both. You reject the number that both are insignificant for both individually, which I need to apply the t-test. We reject both hypotheses, but it is not evidence of the f-test. Therefore, you are not able to reject f-test. Okay. So here you would say that would be the example. I cannot reject this education takes no go. I cannot reject that education square takes no go. But I reject that both may no go. What? Yeah. So that's somehow goes. I guess I should make it the other way around. So here, if that point here tells me that you can reject the individual test, but you cannot reject the joint. So we reject individually education where those non-zero. But if you ask the data could both be 0, then you cannot reject. But you see, this is somehow strange, right? This is not the empirical relevant thing. The empirical relevant thing is that one. That you cannot reject both individually, right? Both are indeterminate, but you reject the f-test. And this can happen when the regressors are highly positively correlated, right? So remember the education square thing. The example is not so good because we saw both are. Suppose we have here a regression where education. No. It is actually a good example because we have exactly that case. We have this patient square. So our example both where not specifically right? What could happen is, I'm not sure that I should do this. It doesn't work. What could happen is that throw one variable out, and then the other becomes different. Right? So here we are not able to reject the null hypothesis individually. Both are significant individually. So both are within the confidence band, so to say, right, of 0. But now what happens if I throw out? So I can inject that though. Yes. Again. First remark is that in case of this type,
good eye pressure. So it should be stressed that in this game there is always a Nash equilibrium such that every player chooses to be weapons with probability 1. This is like the base equilibrium before. And equilibrium the same with the Nash equilibrium, even if so even that the other side chooses to build weapons, even if maybe the distribution function is very skewed to the upper part, that most players have very large cost of war, even with satisfaction, if everybody plays B, then my opponent responds to B. And therefore, for the opponent, play B will be off. So this equilibrium always exists. So the interesting question is a different one, whether there are also other equilibria, particularly equilibria where players put some positive probability on playing A. This is an issue. Is there a possibility for peace in such a situation? If there are such equilibria, then we call them a peaceful equilibria. So then, let us characterize what is the mechanics behind peaceful equilibria, if they exist. So we claim that if there is a peaceful equilibrium, then it has what is called the cutoff property, which is very plausible. It is that if some player type I chooses to build weapons, some player with cost Ci to build weapons, then all types that have all across the board also build weapons. So this cost of war goes from 0 to the upper bar. And here we repeat the cumulative distribution function. So we assume that it is always positive. So there's always positive density. So there are no holes in the distribution. So it goes from 0 to 1. This means that could be, for instance, like the uniform distribution, something like this. So this would mean that, for instance, at some level here, this would be the fraction of types that have smaller cost than this level. If this level is size in mu, this would be f of mu. This means that all types that have costs smaller than mu are the greedy types. Or greedy states. So, and so this would be the greedies. And here we will have the security seeker. So, and here you read the proportion of the greedy types. So, you always use the law of large number. So it's like saying the probability that my opponent is greedy is equal to S in the U. Here, so the way in which the subjective assessment of the opponent. There is some ideas, or I'm very treated like a beautiful distribution, but something like this. Or it could be something like this. So we have no restrictions on this. And all level of cost in this interval are possible. So kind of more shape density function would deliver something like so like which is so this is the basic way in which we assess what's going on. So now we see, well, if there is a disequilibrium, then it must be of the cutoff time. So what does it mean? It means that, well, it will be such that in equilibrium, I will come to the conclusion that there is some type, where type is defined just by cost. No? So there is a type or a cost level C star C such that those who have the types that have a smaller cost than the first one will build weapons, and those that have higher cost of war will stay peaceful. Why? Because in every equilibrium, it must be so that if a certain type builds weapons, then it must be so that all the more aggressive types will also build weapons. So all those that have smaller cost of war will also build weapons. So the question is if such a system existed in this interval, or if it's system so large that it's outside it. So now let us show this video. Yes.
Is this for analyzing another country or for myself?
Well, if you have to analyze the entire game at once, so you
simultaneously.
yes. So by understanding what the optimal strategy is for you and the enemy, you can find the equilibrium, which is the set of strategies for you and the adversary, for every type of the adversary, so that together they build equilibrium. So failure and the incentive. So we have here, I think, let us show this rather you have to think about what is the optimal strategy for every possible type of your opponent. So, I think you should have seen it in game theory. So, you have to compute the optimal strategies for every type of your opponent, right? And then you associate probabilities to the types of the opponent, and then you compute your own best supply in terms of expected utility terms, given these assumptions.
Yeah, we're assuming that you cannot be distributed.
If you build weapons, you play B, and then you have values that depends on the strategy of your enemy. So if it's like the matrix. So
The weapon cannot be distributed.
so you defeat it. So you get either this failure or this failure. Either you win or you have statement. Essentially, right? So if you need weapons, you may either have a statement, you will incur the cost, or you will win at the cost, and you also have the value of supremacy, which may be larger or smaller than the cost. If you not build weapons, then if you are lucky and your opponent is not build weapons, then you have but if your opponent builds weapons, then it will beat you and you will suffer the loss from defeat, which is the worst outcome. So, how does the state respond under oscillating information? So, there will be, in an equilibrium, there will be an assignment of strategies, main strategies, optimal strategies to times. So, any given time, we have some strategy that is defined by the equilibrium. So, in equilibrium, we think, well, it is the optimal strategy can be either B or F. So, intuitively, if we get the possibility of peace will be such that all those that have low cost will find it optimal to attack, and all those who have high cost of war will find it optimal to independently of what is the precise assignment is, there will be some assignment, and then you can compute what is the fraction of times that might go to attack, what is the fraction of times that might go to state. These fractions are equal to the probability to be attacked and probability not to be attacked. What the failure with thinking about. So, then assume this player is thinking about is coming down to the conclusion somebody that is not attached, that is not these weapons, and I will, and so I will wait, so that my payoff will be Q minus I. This is then the expected payoff from building weapons. But technically, you know, also like this. Some probability I will win is the probability that my opponent can stay passive, and in any case, I will have to suffer the cost. So what is then my expected payoff in case of staying peaceful, of not building weapons? Right? With probability Pj, I will face a really tight that attacks me. And then I will suffer a loss D from defeat. With the complementary probability, I will face somebody that, like me, has not yet big weapons, and then we will have a nice stay weight without cost of war. In this case, the expected payoff is 1. We use from stay piece. So I will then find optimal. I find it optimal to attack with weapons if and only if this is larger than this. So B is try prefer B, and if and only if, well, you rewrite this, you can rewrite it like this. That if my cost is smaller than this term here. If you weighted average of U and T. So now what we learn from this? Well, in an Nash equilibrium, every type of one side must have the same conclusions about the probability to be attacked. Because the types of the players are independent withdrawals from the system. So this reasoning leads to the same conclusion from every type of one side. This means that this number here on the right hand side is the same for every type. And this means that indeed we have type choose with weapons, but also every other type that has smaller cost but satisfies its volume. And so choose B rather than A. So then a piece of equilibrium in order to exist must be such that indeed there is a cutoff type, C star, that is smaller than the highest possible cost, and such that the equilibrium we have that those types that have smaller.
Okay, guys, I'm back. 哦天呐！Okay, guys， 我们现在要买一个 cryptocurrency， 所以我们就现在就 straightforward study。然后因为我时间来不太及了，距离考试，然后同学反正现在基本上都已经学了2遍了。然后呢，我还在就是刚开始的阶段。然后我去年考那个试的时候，我2月份的时候我才开始写那个 PowerPoint， 因为它那个Studienprüfungsordnung 里面它写的是你 Vorbereitung 和 Nachbereitung 的 Zeit 是有的是30，一节课，然后然后你Prüfungsvorbereitung 的时间有的是30，有的是40小时。也就是说，考试的时候的那个就 final 就是最后考试的那个本子，也就是上一次买的就是非常好的那个本子，然后叫什么来着？Moleskine 不是 Moleskine， 是那个 comma， 就是那个 big comma， 然后叫什么来着 ？Coles 也不是，那叫什么来着？就不是那个，我也不知道叫什么，反正就是非常好的一个本子，叫cos 不是，就是就是杜斯玛，然后他的那个2楼，然后他那个卖文具的那个地方，然后那个深蓝色那个本子，然后还有一个颜色是那个浅 mint， 然后就是那个浅绿色的，非常好看，然后叫什么 semicolon， 我的天呐，我的天呐，我的天呐，太恐怖了。那个 semicolon， 然后就那个本子很好，然后后面我2月份开始的时候才从那个上面写 PowerPoint， 抄 PowerPoint。然后我抄 PowerPoint 之后我就记住了，因为我写1遍我就记住了，尤其是速度比较快的时候。然后学弟说他就怕我说这个，因为你说之后就不准了，然后所以一般来说他是避开说这个的。然后这次呢，我们还是吧，应该到时候我们买那个 semicolon 然后写，然后然后就是我觉得目前阶段，然后基本上我觉得已经kind of 就是 enough 了，就我都自己有点不想去学校，但是一般来说我在学校里面我都所有的 time 我都去，所有的课我都是去上，然后就是我都去，然后和28一样，但是我自己的感觉是，自从上了研究生的这个阶段之后呢，然后我感觉同学比较聪明，然后他们给我传输的一些思想说，综合评分下来的话，他说就是你就上到一半就别去了，然后因为你如果只要一个83的 notes 的话，你上到 half 然后你就不去了，然后如果按照你自己买的那个东西的那个价值来说的话，那你只能去上3节课，然后你就买不起了，因为你花的钱，然后只买得起三周的课， 然后我想了一下，也确实是这样的，因为按照我之前在学校里面的经验，在本科阶段的经验来说的话，基本上，教授的一个字，然后，就是要一个字，然后就我的那个行为经济学，然后就是一个字，然后或者是头前几个字，然后你都要花很多的这个精力、代价以及花费，然后去买，然后去理解。然后因为之前我自己没有什么印象，然后但是呢，我不是一直都跟随的是教授嘛，然后教授他们就带着，然后我只知道我只能知道大概这个事情，然后会有什么一个样的一个感受，但是具体的我不知道，但是我知道他们肯定不会错，因为他们是的教授嘛，然后所以从另外一个角度而言的话。就是那个课的话，成绩没有那一次那个一二教授教的时候的成绩考得好。然后因为我可能就是有点就是启动的有点慢，然后这一次呢，现在已经12月，今天是12月11号了，然后所以基本上在这种情况下，我就已经不需要去学校了。然后你只要把上了这一半课程，然后你完全的都能理解，然后基本上你要的一个3分，最多一个2.3分，然后或者是2分，然后这些都。你一定要更好的成绩的话，比如说像哈佛的万州毕业生 Computer Science 的，比如说一定要个1.3、1.7，没有1.5，那你可能就要花费更多的精力。但是你如果连那个都保证不了的话，那你还说什么？所以我现在觉得，就是经过我跟他们的一个思维上面的一个 interaction，我自己觉得再去的话，其实没有太大意义，因为1月份的话有2个那个 PPT，然后要占1周时间，所以现在你只有3周、4周、5周，加上搬家的话，如果10天之内可以办完的话，你只有1个半月的时间了。然后那基本上是时间非常紧的，所以就是说，你不能在这种情况下，其实finish that much，然后你必须要现在就开始记了，或者是写到那个考试本上了。然后呢，所以我自己的想法是这样的，就是怎么说，就可以不去了。现在呢，我们现在购置一个 cryptocurrency，然后因为今天我们有 positive 的一个 feedback，经过我刚才的一个对于信息的一个检索，然后呢，我们可能会买我们会买 Tron，然后会比较 beneficial 一点，然后呢，所以我们现在等一下，我不知道就是为什么。行，那我们现在就看一下到底买哪一个。 天呐，天呐，天呐，太搞笑了！ Okay, guys, we are currently still in distribute and so not wondering, and because I feel like my heart was so 难受的. It's like cannot breathe and like feel like very heavy and down to the deep sea and that feeling. And so let's just stop here. 哎呀，我的天呐，my Güte. This I think that I do think that I will remember this kind of Christian little series to forever, because that was so that was so precise. That was so precise, and I almost can recall that everywhere, and it will press in Bei Qiangzhang's subconsciousness and even the volcanic. So, for example, if you really have this kind of intensity and you kind of like seems like you're gonna have 2.5 SEO voice back, and so that IMA effort, zweimal rewards, so to say. And I was so, yeah. And we're still in distribute and haven't got the shen yet. And because last week weekend, and I went to the Hauptbahnhof, and in Alexanderplatz there are two and at least two and one things that I haven't bought, and because that I was being confused by extra voices, and so that I haven't really got that clear conscious in the things and to do the things fully, and that's why I just notice a lot of things happening and undergoing. The reason is distribute and with Shen, and Shen is that my hometown language from one of my classmates is Andrea Bellich, and from last year, and I haven't got that finished, but I did presentation, and I missed the grading timing. It is because that in that time, like during 2 to 3 days, in that I was fully with the yellow dusted energy field, so that I haven't really landed of the burden. I haven't really got touched in the reality, and so that I was try be driven high, and that's why I haven't got really that conscious into the grading DDL. But this semester won't happen that again, and yeah. So I got really somehow very heavily and like very sad and almost cry and so emotional and none the things, and so that we left this open, and till TIO like till Shen. And I found this interesting because like the word decomposition in the sense of English and Chinese, and you got involved into the sampling and with this central limit theory, theory, and so that from this view, I kind of know that it is today on the class I was well listened to the Professor Cornell or Professor or development economics. I cannot remember that clearly, and so that I got this problem about distribution, like like I warn myself, like don't go to that area, like the makler company once this year, April, May, we got the Bayesian stemming, and then don't go that area because that was the dark blue consciousness round. It need to be avoided because I already saw twice at least in one is the CC, one YouTuber invest on the lifestyle channel and etc. Another one is that last week on weekend I met three people that they are being questioned by police, and they have fiercely arguing with each other, and the situation was really feels like devastating. And when I walk by, and I feel like I feel like it seems like I don't know, but yeah. So in this sense, I was thinking that that kind of area belonging to the light blue dark state conscious area, and so it could be avoid of. Also, why today rethink this kind of Tina and back to my conscious, and I was thinking about, oh, please just don't convert that area because that was too thorough, and that feels like devastating and like in some deep water and that kind of feeling. But why then? And you don't necessarily feel in that way, and why you put yourself in that dark deep water and yeah. So but one thing is that the classmate was making joke about that, like Bill and Spread, and I was arguing with the not arguing. I was also make funny consciousness Professor Dancer and Professor in Dancer, and I was saying like this kind of like spread out like dispersion, and you could say that is a 辐射 in from last year, like Professor Lucas Stella. But you can directly say that actually in the things that unspoken truth, that you can also think the other way, for example, but I won't say that what that is. And so in this kind of context, that the spread, dispersion, and SG, they all same actually. And so from my point of view, and if it is in this sense that BU that make the most durable frequent word usage, then why not to make that more seriously. And so from my point of view, I was thinking this week at least, when Monday came, and because I was stopped in this distribution as word, and then they directly sent me the wrong time point, and it is at 14 o'clock 58. And the first day or the second day of this week, the first day of this week is Monday, and they already sent this and to my black box system, because they can control that in the backstage, and they can believe determine what is actually your system time to submit quiz 2 from the microanalysis. And the real situation was really shock, as today in macroeconomic analysis exercise described. I was hardly think about that the time will reverse to t-1, because usually and they only describe what at present happening, and then they have already the answer, and they adjust it into the current atmosphere, like environment, and to make that solution plausible. For example, but this time, like today, and I wondering they use the t-1, t-2, and so I haven't thought about that. And so if you, for even like reviewed a little bit, and then you found there is much more tricky than you could imagine, and the reason it's not that tricky, but they usually only use the adjustment from the current state, like present as today's energy, but they changed the strategy and they use t-1, t-2, like Monday and Tuesday. What's that mean? And I don't know. And also, also, I was I was a little bit make funny there, and was thinking, okay, cool. If you want to take it 1 point, for example, because that 1 point is so difficult to get, and then you can I can gain a extra glass door, for example. And because last year during that JFK seminar, and AB has did, and Betty has did one established glass door in front of, not in front of, considering the KTV and inverted backlights. And so why, if you, for example, like take 1 point now, and then why I cannot have that traditional glass door back, like established with them that relevant. And so really I was thinking here, and then that one similar like Juan Camino, and that one similar like Juan's friend, and they are saying no, it's not okay. And so they suddenly get up and get up from the PC pool chair, and wheelchair, a chair wheel, and then they say no, it's not okay. And then they change the strategy, and they say why this start working and start functioning and start everything, and that's not possible, and that's not okay. And then the system, like Marco Professoring has given the 0.5 points from 4 points together, and that is amazing. From my point of view, that is very unmoral thing. And my classmates were saying, if you feel like uncomfortable and you just don't come to the class, and because you know that you are pure loss, and very non-beneficial. And so yesterday and before yesterday, or when I already forgot. But when I into the dark blue consciousness, and my previous neighbor was coming to like how to say that, like to convert in a deep subconsciousness state, and which I could think of is that this kind of offline Geräte, because darauf gives etwas Show-in and some oilige print, the footprint, like something like that. And so I hardly think we have a very long physical distance, like from here to last previous Wohnung apartment, previous apartment. You need at least 20. You need half an hour. Okay, you need at least 30 minutes, and then your perception and your perception about my reality is that so exact as I could in this reality, not perceiving, not perceive. Actually, how amazing is that? And is that physical distance really doesn't matter, and you treat me really as your worker or what? And so I was thinking about this problem, and Margarita. And so I feel like that was that thing. And imagine if, for example, and my consciousness and into unknown and into this kind of hurry rise and energy field, like the neighbor of Algeria from Krebs and from my God, from fresh rebel, and how I feel like suffering, like if we like a body organism was linked with something similar at this kind of neighbor of la Garette zum Beispiel. I hardly think of that, but they really did that, and they really did that, and using this kind of neighbor energy and found something important, like for next 40 years, for example, and using this kind of energy, and because the one highly change in the sense that they have smoothly developed function, for example, and for example, we say, for example, if I throw that away now, and whether things gonna change or not. So, but for example, if for example, like this kind of footprint was very difficult to change. For example, next 1 year, and I'm still develop very slowly, but they using this kind of aggregated smoothie change function, like smoothie nice developed function, and then they can know what's your future. And like in 40 years, you wouldn't change anything, and because it's kind of footprint, and how, yeah. So yeah, that's what they did. So I feel like extremely sad, and that was that thing, and my stomach was full of this kind of energy and meine Güte, and so they using that found WSC. Met WSC posted one new on Instagram and know what exactly he is, and that is very dangerous actually to him, and because you, yeah, it's very unmoral actually, and but but one thing is also interesting. It's not funny, and today I feel like it was detect something. I was finding evidence like criminal for some criminal activity, and criminal thing, find evidence, and for police, and etc. Okay, fine. So we're not joking anymore, and I need four line of data, and then now we just fall asleep and Lindeberg levy and the conversion distribution. The things could be very easier, and if you do it, but I don't want to do that globally, and so that let's just for fine detail and actually it's not a little bit time. Yeah, we change they change the background and to the sea, and that's really beautiful. And we go sleep now, and so fine. Um, oh, people text already green. Um, okay. Okay, guys, we close the study live stream now, and lifetime was be using by someone else, not by someone else. They can jump time, and so yeah, it means that Professor Dancer stuck children and the characters can use more faster time. And然后 so 我们现在就到这儿，然后行，然后我不知道说什么，然后我就没有什么要说的，然后我们刚才退出了学校里面的那个webmail，然后所以我要对自己的这个系统进行一个保护。其他的就没有什么。然后我找了这篇 article， 然后还是他们推送过来，他们推过来的一个 article， 然后这个 article 其实被教授今天好像转写了，是不是？然后简化了，然后反正我感觉就好像 PPT 上不太一样。但我没注意，因为我没有太仔细看这个。然后学校里面的那个，学校里面的 notice， 然后是他们的 original article， 然后我画的几乎完美。然后因为我一直都快速的阅读很多这个文章，然后呢，但是呢，教授的那个 PPT 是他自己的，然后他自己。转了一下意思，然后它这个有点像那种均衡模型，然后它有9个格，像火锅一样，然后教授只有4个格，然后所以他们把这个简化了，然后把豆腐就是豆腐，然后就是就多分，然后就那个沐浴液，然后呢哈维克，然后是英歌嘛。然后就是鸽派和鹰派嘛，他们之间的一个区别。他想说一下这个 CL， 然后其实这几个课都有 CL， 然后 CL 其实就是 Professor 亚马库斯，就是 Professor 马库斯，它代表的是 CL 就是那个AFD party， 就是那个之前的那个 finance minister 所在，他们都是差不多的，但是当然就教授更学术，然后当然我们也说的不是直接就是谁就是谁，但是呢，他的那个另外一个方面呢，它是 CH， 就是吃喝，然后中间一个 C2，这个太复杂，这个太复杂，这个对，好，反正我自己的理解就是，3个 units 的 benefits，然后做不做都一样，然后从 Miko 课上的，然后这个课呢，然后是你要做下面的一个 square， 然后就是 right corner square， 然后是正确的，也就右下角是正确的， 然后另外一个是左上角，然后所以马口教授说的那个右上就是都态沾边，然后在这种情况下的话，其实是 DD 嘛，然后但是教授说教授好像就说不对，然后前两天的时候他们在过这个模型的时候，他们说，如果是 NB 的话就是 FK， 对吧？然后如果是 FK 的话就是 FK 和 GB， 然后 Samsung 是Galaxy Book， 然后是 GB 的意思，然后 F2， 所以买电脑之后就是 F4， 所以就是我们商业上所说的 RD， 然后呢RD 是 CA for example， 然后所以就有点interesting， 然后呢 AX 是 BB， 然后他从今年夏天的时候，然后8月份的时候他就一直都是 BB， 然后 BB 其实是一个首饰店，然后在 Alexanderplatz 的，然后呢他就一直不停的是刀我笔。其实你们知道的 Sebastian Coe， 那个 Professor Coe， 然后在 JFK 的 sociology， 然后呢 sociology， 然后树不是树的意思嘛 sociology， 然后结果，然后这个到后然后说是不行。然后也就是说，我们上2周，然后做那个，叫什么来着 assignment， 然后就是那个第2个作业，然后在那个第一那门课上面，然后呢，他们就说，是不行的。我当时吓了一跳，因为那个就是代表的是。代表的是 non-name 嘛，然后呢代表的就是没有名字嘛，然后是有点像是匿名的，或者是没有名字的。但是有一个问题，我自己从角度而言的话，我觉得的话，它是那个就是他们的那个 American History 的那个 Siri 那个course， 然后呢，因为他们没有名字，所以他们当时在那边写的是 Sebastian Coe and 然后呢，然后那个是谁？Julius，然后就是现在是以前是 UCH 的这个有点像是 senior researcher， 然后就是高级的这个研究员。然后呢，我每次说他名字的时候，他的 family name 是森，然后有点森，然后他是 SEN，然后呢，引起了大家误解。然后呢，在10月初的时候，然后他们来就是比如说是清袋子啊之类的时候，然后发生这种事情的时候，然后呢，他们说，他们把那个就是拉车的那个架子，然后把我们两个重叠在一块，因为我们两个其实是一样的。然后呢，就是有一点像，我也说不清楚，但我觉得是三方式就是比较 compensated 吧，我觉得这个意思。为什么是 compensated 呢？就是有点互补。然后那个 Alex 和那个哈乌的那个 music student， 他们就是 compensated。然后呢，是和就是同比转制，也就是说在这种情况下，放在沙发上的，然后刀宝恩，然后就是 Alex 和那个 music student 哈乌的那个，然后呢，我和森的话也是一个 same function， 然后就是一样的一些物品，然后我们是在那个桌子旁边的那些垃圾堆里面，垃圾袋里面。然后呢，完了之后这个地方就有一个问题，然后这两个都是一样的，然后也马克思教授说， 我就说这怎么可能证明这两个是一样的？然后怎么可能呢？然后他就说，他不是我不说了，反正就是我的意思就是他的意思就是说这两个人是00和11，然后就是 NN 和 BB 和NN，这两个人怎么可能一样呢？因为你要你必须是。你必须是 BN 和 BN 才可以，就是或者是你这样才行。然后那为什么你又这样说呢？就是说你们是 competitor，你们是竞争者的关系，你和森到底有什么竞争关系呢？然后我在想，我每次快要 finish 的时候，然后森都说不行，尤其是在我的 formal road 上面，然后好像不是这样吧，我也不是。所以我心里面想的是这样的，然后就是，嗯嗯，但是在 guns point 的时候，就是 marginal point 的时候，然后，嗯，他会出手相救，但是他 formal role 的上面，比如说是工作学习的时候，他不会，他不会 for you for example，所以现在这个问题有点复杂，因为，嗯。复杂也不复杂，然后但就是 Unzogens Company，如果你不能现在理解的话，Unzogens Company 可能就会 come to Unzog you，Unzogens Company，所以现在这个问题呢，其实也没有什么，你可以读 read article，但是我就确实不太想读 article，因为这个没有意义读 article，所以它这个里面只有一个 cost，然后就 low high 和 low high 的一个区别，然后 C low 大于 C2，然后 C2介于low 和 high 之间，然后cost 大于 high 的话就比就是负的更多的话就通过了。然后如果负于这个之间的话，就是 BB，然后小于 low 的，然后就是 BB，然后他也没有说是 NB，然后呢，也就是说 cost 其实在这种情况下是 irrelevant，然后就如果你是豆腐的话，然后豆腐的话就是鸽派，然后就是你不说话不吭声，然后就是像IC Pepper 一样，然后你就装傻就行了，然后那你就是其他两个情况下你不吭声的话也不会影响，但是 BN 的话就是 OK 的。但是呢，第二种情况其实也还好，如果你是鹰的话，就是你是那种aggressive 那种激进的那种那种性格的话，它这个里面的话，他说的是。他说的是 cost 还是有3种情况，上面就综上所述，然后已经说了，然后但是呢，中间的这个，中间的这个是什么意思呢？就是说，中间的这个是什么意思呢？中间的这个意思就是说，你付的不多也不少，然后你付到刚好，然后就没有意义。为什么这样说呢？你拍个 average，然后也不能通过，也不能 BN，对吧？那你可以 ignore 这个 case。所以呢，现在目前情况下是学校里面有个新咖啡机，然后中间那个选项呢，然后它是 BB 的意思，或者是 BB 的意思，然后或者是转过来了，反正就是没有意义。那个咖啡机看起来就很 fancy，然后呢，但是做的一半的成绩是3，它另外一边它没有评分了，它可以评分，它可以 balance grades，然后它可以grading 另外一个，它可以 forcing grading 另外一个，所以它没有说，但是它可以。对，他可能最后可以 negotiate，然后去 talk about this problem，然后第3种情况呢是，你比我付的还多，就是你比付的最多的还多，然后，那么在这种情况下的话，如果你遇到了比最低的，然后付的更低的话，那你们两个都是 NB，也就是意思。所以他这个意思就是，说，two extreme point，然后去被 shaken out，然后就1和5是一样的。然后所以在这种情况下的话，BB 和 N 的话，如果你不知道后面 最后两种情况的话，很可能会招来August Company。然后如果比最高的还高的时候，然后又遇到一个 middle one 的话，那两个都是比，反正就是没有意义。然后如果你遇到一个跟你一样的话，那两个都是就是两个都是 no。所以在这种情况下就是一个选择，就是你比最 low 的还 low，然后就10 cent 和20 cent。然后它比最 high 的还要 high，然后就两个 extreme point，然后这个的话就是 BN，所以其实 BN 其实只有一种情况，然后就是DD，但是 DD 的话，等一下，但是 DD 的话，这两个位置不能颠倒，对，这两个位置不能颠倒，然后，所以我的问题是这两个之间顺序有没有区别？比如说是你先看左，先看右，先看左，先看，哦，就是这个意思。先看左上，先看CL 和先看 CH，它有没有区别？所以这个其实也只有一个答案，就是不洗澡，然后只用横的本子，然后你就可以通过了，至少F4。所以今天我刚回来的时候，然后我们有一个同学，然后他就说他今天先做 XC，然后他在做吃货，他就通过了。但是我好像越过了，然后因为那个 XC，然后刚好是那个 Blue Brown 的他那个 contact person，然后我就给跳过了。然后但是如果你这样做的话，你在不知不觉中，然后你就成了 BN 了，然后是这个意思。所以我应该先听那个深灰色的那个 energy， 就是 room 的那个 energy 应该是对的。但我今天把这个换掉了，我今天把这个颜色换成了 quartz。行，那先这样吧。然后我有点困了，我明天还要就417、1759。Okay, guys. So see you then. Bye.